we move on here with Zack Sabre Jr. was that was a 2-match losing streak. Jeremy, he had his unbeaten run at first, interrupted, and then Shingo Takagi put him back 2 spots, but he got back on the right side with a win over Evil and Korakuen Hall. And this one went only 19 seconds. It was the most interesting little trick they pulled here. Evil attacks Zack backstage. So, Zack's music plays, no one comes out, and then all of a sudden he's being drugged by Evil. And Evil beats him up on the outside of the ring. Dick Togo throws powder in his face. They're doing this thing now, Jeremy, where as long as you brawl before the match, it doesn't count. You just get in the ring, and then the referee rings the bell, even if someone's been beaten to death. So it's a little new Japan.
If you're in the ring and able-bodied, despite being blinded, fair game. Let's go.
Able-bodied? What are you talking about? Anyway, so that's the whole theory here. So Evil throws him in the ring, thinks, great, this is all over with, covers him immediately, but they get into a pinning scramble where he's trying to pin Zack. Zack kicks out, bridges out, all this stuff. And then he gets a little pinning combination on Zack. Zack reverses it and pins him in 19 seconds. So Zack quickly reversed that into a pin and got most of a night off. He took a little bit of a pounding on the outside of the ring, but not a whole lot. And
there has to be a way to make sure that a guy like him, who might be wrestling a few extra matches than everyone else, maybe gets a breather in the middle of the tour.
And Colin mentioned something here we're going to absolutely get to, Colin. Oh yeah, we're going to get to Gabe Kidd on commentary. Oh my goodness. Now, speaking of Gabe Kidd, he was Zack's next opponent in Yokohama. They went to the Yokohama Budokan, and Zack won this one. Lots of slaps, chops, and submissions in that one. Zack's chest was beating the hamburger. He ended up working a rear naked choke and getting the win that way. So clinched a spot in the playoffs. He snuck a pinfall in on Evil. He took the loss to Shingo. He got the rear naked choke in on Gabe Kidd. So we felt that the drama in the A block, Jeremy, would come from the number 2 and number 3 seeds. We predicted at the beginning that Zack was going to be the number 1 seed. And that seems to be the way this has turned out. It is a thing where Zack has gone all in on the G1 tournament, mentioning it even on other promotions interviews. He has said that his career is basically riding on this in New Japan. So with that in mind, they have made him the number 1 seed, and he will go into the playoffs in the A block, and he's been having a really terrific tournament. His final match in block play is against Sonata.
Okay, so I want to have 2 different conversations about the A block. First one I want to have is about Zack Sabre Jr., and then the next one is about the rest of the field. He's been absolutely dominant in this thing in a way that makes me actually very concerned that he's not going to win the entire G1. Yeah, like there is almost like final boss level like aura about Zack Sabre Jr. right now. Like people are getting a win off of him, but it's not. He is far and away set himself above everyone else. So my question for you is this: is he more in line to lose the G1 and having a dominant performance and putting someone over here, or losing to Naito at Wrestle Kingdom? Or are they trying to reset the scale so much and tell you that Zack Sabre Jr. is the new top guy so definitively that from this point on, you are looking at him as the top guy rather than Naito, and almost taking that pressure off of Naito from this point forward?
I think this entire tournament is about setting up people who can take pressure off Naito, because it's pretty clear that Naito's body is not going to be long for this as far as being a main event guy and having these long matches on top. Now, psychologically, he's still one of the best in the game. Physically, he's faltering. And I think everybody in the business knows that. So I think what New Japan is trying to do is build up more than one person, but they also need a top foreigner. They don't really have one right now. And I think that Zack is being groomed for the role of top foreigner. Now, there's a couple of ways to do that. And one of them is obviously to win the G1. Doesn't happen very often. Foreigners don't win the G1 very much, but drastic times call for drastic measures in that sense. The other thing he can do is lose the G1 final to someone from B block. I still feel very strong Zack's going to make the final. Mm-hmm. He could lose to someone from B block. He beat Naito in the tournament, so you could have him come back
about this
in Destruction or King of Pro Wrestling. It doesn't have to be a Kingdom. I'm sticking by it because I said that I thought Zack was going to win this tournament. He's the number one seed in A block A. I'm not ready to get off of that yet. But there are other alternatives here. That way you can make him the top foreigner in some way, and then you can also have someone else win the G1 and go to Wrestle Kingdom. That is a possible option. I'm going to stick with my prediction for now, but I see your point. They almost are leaning a little bit too hard into him winning the thing.
Like, this is such a tell that he's been so dominant that unless that it's just like, he's the Roman Reigns of New Japan, where he's just not going to lose for an indescribable period of time, which I don't think is the case.
But he has lost a couple of times in the tournament. This isn't like Sonata last year, where they were trying to convince us he was a strong world champion by having him mow through everyone. He's dropped a couple.
No, but they're sending a clear message that he has won his bye before anyone else is even locked in their spot. That's a big deal. And I want to make sure that I am underlining that. So you're not against the idea that potentially Zack Sabre Jr. and Naito have a match before Wrestle Kingdom. Zack Sabre Jr. wins the title there, and then the G1 the G1 winner will face Zack Sabre Jr. as the title holder. But do you think that could happen?
I don't think Tetsuya Naito will be out of the main event of Wrestle Kingdom. So if they do a switch, it'll be a back and forth, similar to what they did with Moxley, where maybe somebody wins it at Destruction and he wins it back at King of Pro Wrestling.
I think it's highly unlikely. Okay.
Yeah, I find it almost, well, I would be shocked if their number one draw didn't headline their number one show. And he is by far their number one draw. Whether you think he's still the wrestler he was or whatever, no one in the company sells tickets more than Tetsuya Naito does. And this is a 2-night event, and which means they actually have put themselves in a spot where they can't just rely on special guest stars for Wrestle Kingdom. That's what the show on January 5th is for. They're going to need him. They're going to need him.
All hands on deck.
Yeah, and so I think that'll either be the rematch, perhaps a rematch. Or he'll lose it, win it back, and then go into Kingdom against the G1 winner. All those scenarios are possible.
They either have something tricky really up their sleeves, or like they have something really. The way that they booked this G1 has been confident and competent in a lot of ways. So I will be okay at this point if Zack Sabre Jr. does not win this G1. Because I feel like what they have done so far has laid groundwork for a number of interesting pathways that I think if the promotion has a hot direction coming out of the G1, I think everything is going to be okay. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Zack Sabre Jr., but right now I feel like it could be.
Phenomenal Ace mentions the last time they changed the title before Wrestle Kingdom was when Tanahashi beat AJ Styles in the fall, but that was because Tanahashi versus Okada was the money match for Wrestle Kingdom 9. And as he mentions here, it goes to our point. In that case, you can't take Naito out of the main event. Right. So Phenomenal Ace, thank you for joining us, by the way. And makes the good point. They need him there. It used to be that there was a team of guys that could draw on top. Okada did. Certainly Tanahashi when he was healthier, certainly he did. Naito did. Even Will Ospreay to a certain extent could draw, and certainly Kenny Omega drew. Right now, it's Naito and Desperado, and Despai's on the shelf.
You look at the VTR for the G1 every time you start the show, and it's like the focus on Naito as he's young, and then you see like the profile of him, like just aged and like he's seen it all. Is just like they're telling you this is the Naito G1. Yeah. So I don't think that's going to happen, but I felt like the conversation needed to be had in case other people were thinking it, because it's just like Naito in the main event. This has to be Naito's last main event, whether he wins or loses, and who it is against will be a compelling story that I think they're telling right now. And like I said, at this point, if it's not Zack Sabre Jr., I think I'm okay with it.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I would like it to be Jack, because I think it always is Zach. I don't know why I keep saying that. Zack Sabre Jr., not Jack. It's Zack Sabre Jr. I would like it to be him just on a personal basis. I
Right.
feel like I feel like he can carry it. I feel like he's good enough.
He
and
feels
the
like
crowd
the right guy.
and the crowd responds to him enough. You definitely need to be building up other Japanese wrestlers because nothing draws as well as a native star in Japan. That's just the way it is. And they need that. But I also think they're on the way to doing so. And there are some hints we've gotten as to who the next person up is from this tournament.